What if the only way out is to stop trying to escape? If you're an overthinker, you already know the feeling. You try to think your way through everything, plan out every outcome, every possibility, but somehow you still feel stuck. Like no matter how much you plan, you're always behind. And it's not because you're lazy, it's not because you're broken, it's because your mind is doing what it thinks it has to do to keep you safe. I've spent years mentoring creatives and engineers who found themselves caught in that loop, especially in high-pressure environments, where performance and identity get tangled up a little bit. And truthfully, I know this loop well because I've lived through it myself. So tell me, what's something that's been weighing on your mind lately? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to know. I read every one. Now, let's look at this trap from a new angle, because there's actually a way out of this loop. It starts like a typical check-in. This client, brilliant, driven, thoughtful, but she's spinning. There's just too much, she says. 27 hours of work in a 24-hour workday. She's staying up late, skipping rest, trying to squeeze life into a plan that was never meant to hold this much. She talks about a friend, someone who gets everything done and still sleeps 8 hours a night. And she doesn't understand why she can't do the same. But I can hear it almost immediately. She's not in this moment with me. She's not even in this day with me. She's telling me a story about who she's always been. Someone who fails to plan, fails to deliver, fails to prioritize. And then she shifts forward into the future. Everything that's due next week, next month, next quarter, it's all past and future, not a single breath of now. So I pause, I wait for a moment, and then I say, I'm hearing a really strong story about what's wrong, but I'm not hearing the most important thing. She looks at me. I ask, what matters right now? She's quiet. So I take it further. What if you guaranteed yourself that 8 hours of sleep each night? Now you've only got 16 hours in a day. What do you do with that? She's still quiet. So I ask, how about 12 hours? 6 hours? 1. What if you only had this 1 hour to move something forward? She blinks. Then she laughs. Not because it's funny, but because something just landed. Because the answer hasn't changed. It's the same no matter how much time you have. What matters right now is the most important thing. Always has been. The problem isn't time, it's attention. It's presence. Overthinking is like quicksand. The more you struggle, the harder you fight to think your way out, the faster you sink. And what makes it worse? It actually feels like you're doing something productive when you're in these loops. You're reviewing every angle, you're replaying every option, running simulations in your mind, but what you're really doing is tightening the knot. The way out of overthinking isn't more thinking, it's presence. In Quicksand, the key is to stop thrashing. You have to slow down. You have to breathe. You have to let that panic settle so you can start to move intentionally and eventually rise. Same thing here. When you pause, when you come back to now, you finally create enough space to see what actually matters to you. Not in theory, not eventually, not in your narratives, but right here. From this place, clarity returns. One next step, and then another. Not because you've solved it all, but because you've stopped trying to. When you're in it, when your mind is racing and nothing feels clear, you don't need the perfect plan. You just need presence. So stop, feel your body, breathe, and ask yourself, what matters to me right now? That's it. Not what should matter, not what's most impressive, not what your past or your anxiety tells you should matter, just this very moment, this breath, this step. And if that feels out of reach, there's another question I want you to try. I shared it in the very first video in this series, and it's the one that brought me back to myself.